Okay, this is a quick unboxing video of some Marvy USA products. Marvy is the company that makes the Farmer Marvy Unmatchable ink pads, which have been discontinued in that incarnation, but they still have Marvy re-inkers, and the reason for that is I'm sure they have just tons and tons and tons of these re-inker refill containers in stock still, so they haven't discontinued those, but they have discontinued the color-coded ink pads. Right? Now this order here is an order that I placed, but it's really not for me. It's for a customer that lives in Switzerland, and one of the things about living here in the United States is that we have access to a lot of different supplies as far as our craft goes, crafting supplies, and not just rubber stamping, but anything in the craft world. Even if some of these products come from, in this case, Japan, okay? But there is a Uchida USA, so these types of things are very accessible. I ordered these for a customer that really wants some really great pads and great inks. Marvy pads, or Marvy inks, are a little bit different than most inks on the market. I love just about every ink pad that I've ever used, okay? As far as the ink quality goes, I would say they're all very good. I really don't run into any pads these days that are, you know, watery or seem thin in terms of the vibrancy of ink, but they're all kind of a little bit thick, and that's for the reason that, you know, when you get an ink pad, it's raised, okay? Now, raised dye-based pads, they came out kind of in the mid-90s, roughly about, okay? And a lot of the ink pads or inks are based on the idea of a raised pad, so it doesn't run out of the pad. It stays intact. Even if you have an ink pad on its side, it's going to stay within the felt of that pad. Now Marvy, if you know Marvy ink pens like these, this one happens to be the 1500 series, and it's the type of pen that I kind of was introduced to by working at a Stamp in the Hand. Kathy loved these pens here. Most stampers had some of these 1500 series ink pens. There was also the Le Plume double-sided pens. I don't know if I have some of those. These ones are Tombos, but the Tombos and the Le Plumes are very similar in that they have the dual tips here, you know, the brush tip and the kind of the fine tip. But going back to the inks, these pens came out long before raised dye-based pads were on the market. Now, Marvy's solution to... They didn't want to have to come up with a brand new ink for the sake of an ink pad, so what they're using on their ink pads is this dense foam pad, okay? Most other pads are kind of more fabric-y. They're like felt pads. You know, if you ever use one to death practically, you'll find that you'll get fibers kind of coming off of it. Well, Marvy came out with that dense foam pad, and they also have this really nice color coding. But they discontinued those due to the fact that they had to order so many at one time, and in today's market that just wasn't practical. But they still had the re-inkers available, and they probably have those in quantity. But I don't know, they had so many requests from the people that really love those types of pads to, you know, kind of have some other type of solution. So they came out with this blank pad right here, okay? So the idea behind these blank pads is you can take the re-inker, and with any one of these re-inkers, you can create your own ink pad in whatever incarnation you're using of that re-inking fluid, okay? You can also mix and match, I guess, but, you know, Marvy had about, I think it was 40 pads, then there was the Heritage line. There might have been a few more pads, but roughly abouts. But, I mean, you could, in theory, you know, or very easily, you can mix colors together if you have these re-inker vials, bottles, and you can make your own type of ink out of it. Now, one of the things that's nice about these color-coded pads of old is that you can see what colors, you know, those inks represent. And these color codings right here were pretty darn true to the color out of the pad, surprisingly so. So what I would do is I would probably have some sticker paper or something like that, or, I don't know, this looks like just some uncoated paper here. You can probably ink this up with whatever color you do, and just take a little color of that, and I don't know, I would probably put it on the bottom like this. I wouldn't change the color later on or something like that, you know, so whatever color I would color code here on the bottom of this pad would be the color that it would be, and I would probably write the number down, you know, just of course so you can, when you re-ink it, you'd be re-inking it with the same color that you initially created the pad for. Okay, but anyways, this customer ordered some of those blank pads. They also have some of the used pads that I still have that I've been auctioning off, but they really liked some of these colors, and you can see how beautiful these colors are in ink pad form. These brush markers, I won't open up one of these brand new pads of theirs, but these brush markers have this really thick tip on the, you know, ends. Let's see if I can focus in, yeah. And those are really great for coloring an image and then stamping it out to have those colors inherently in the impression itself. Okay, these ones are good for outline designs and whatever too, but they were really great for stamps with a lot of surface area. Now these pens are a little bit older. The new barrels came with kind of this black, more kind of graphic looking barrel, and you know, it still has the color coding as far as the tips go, and this back area, and it also has the number of the color on there. And I haven't ordered pens in a very long time, but after looking down some of the colors on off the website when I was placing an order for this customer, I don't know, it really got me thinking, oh boy, I need some of those colors, you know. So I'm probably going to have to place an order myself with them. This is one of my favorites right here. This 36 manganese blue. This is my favorite ink color of all time. Well, out of the blues, but blues are some of my favorite colors, so I think getting a couple of these pens and whatnot would be really great. And how I would use those with some stylus tool tips. This is a hard tip, which I almost, you know, never use, but I found out that I had one of these recently. What I would do is I would just roll that color into that tip, and I would saturate my tips, and I would apply color that way. Okay, and you can do that with these brush markers because it has such a large tip, and they are really, really saturated, or full of ink, so they really hold quite a great deal of ink. And again, these pens are dye-based watercolor pens, okay? They're not alcohol-based pens, okay? So, Marvy, kind of the forgotten but incredible performing dye-based ink pen. I know that alcohol-based pens are kind of the rage, but there's a different quality to watercolor pens from alcohol-based pens. I like them both, you know. It's usually not one or the other for me, but I would use these in conjunction with one another. One of the things about alcohol pens is that they tend to run in many different types of papers. This could, in theory, do that, but they don't do it as much as alcohol-based pens, so you don't have to use so much like specialty types of paper for most of your watercolor dye-based pens. Okay, and with the pens, you know, when the Marvy Matchables came out, they call them Matchables because the colors that they released in pad form matched the colors of the pens. So if you have a number 11 light green, it would be the same light green as in the pen form. So if you have some pens of the that also came in Matchables, you can re-ink your pens with the matchable inks. All right. So, anyways, some blank pads and some pens and re-inkers here for this stamper out in kind of the stamping wastelands of Switzerland, according to them, you know, as far as being able to find supplies. They have a lot of really great supplies coming to them, and I don't think they'll want for any dye-based media for quite some time, and it should set them up. These re-inkers hold a lot of ink, and you'll be able to fully engage a brand new ink pad, blank one, and you'll have plenty of ink left over in this to re-ink it so many times over. It should last a really long time, even if you use a lot of ink like I do on my scenes. So anyways, don't forget about Marvy's, or, you know, if you don't know about them, maybe look into them. One note, they had an extremely slow website, and as soon as it added all these things to the shopping cart, maybe it was because there were so many items, but even in the checkout process, like checking the box that said, you know, the shipping method, I don't know, it spun and spun and spun for like 5 minutes, you know, each time. But good news is if you do that and you get your products, you only have to do it once. So anyway, Marvy, great stuff.